it is amazing the different forces that will squelch some type of dissent. I mean, they tell you cannot overestimate the queasiness of people in the media, even in the sort of like things that we wouldn't necessarily consider the sort of the traditional media. I can tell you that as I try and find other jobs to supplement this one, I am shocked repeatedly at how much people express concern about what they perceive I do on this show. I mean, I'm shocked about it. I'm not naive to these things. And I'm not looking for jobs. I'm not going to Fox News for jobs. And I am surprised by it. And I try and isolate exactly what it is. You know, because you have a guy on CNN, and I'm not even talking about cable news, but you have a guy on CNN who is paid contributor at CNN who called Justice Souter a goat fucker. And, you know, I say some harsh things occasionally, but I'm not looking for a job on CNN, and I don't say those type of things. Not that I have an issue with the term goat fucker. It's just sort of like the level of discourse that you're expressing is. In other words, there obviously is the issue is not tone per se. The issue is what issues you are tackling. And I tend to focus on a lot of economic issues on this program, which puts me in a different class of sort of media pundits. Or category tape, I should say. A type. You know, there is let me put it this way. No one would be kept off these outlets if they were talking about marriage equality rights. No one would be kept off these topics if they were talking about women's reproductive rights. And this example from TED. You know what TED is, right? It's those little conferences that they have of really, really wealthy people. And it's supposed to be technology. What does it stand for? Do you know what TED stands for? And they're fascinating. You can get these little 20-minute talks.
It stands for Technology, Entertainment, Design.
Technology, entertainment, design. And over the years, they have grown, and you have like TEDx's, which are sort of like spin-off versions that aren't associated with the main TED, and they've expanded over the years. I mean, this has been around for almost now 8-10 years or something, and they started to put these things online, I think 6 years ago. And they've had many conversations about things like global warming and contraception. They've had, and most of the stuff is more about like how do you make, movies or a great story on foie gras or, an interesting thing on how we're all going to live until the end of time or, how small processors can be made. I mean, all sorts of different interesting things. And so the National Journal reported that a guy named Nick Hanauer, a venture capitalist from Seattle, who apparently was the first non-family investor in Amazon.com, who is, as you would imagine, extremely wealthy. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's something heir. He's very, very wealthy. And he gave a TED speech in March.
His net worth is $1 billion.
1 billion, just 1 billion. Heck, JP Morgan could lose that in a day. So he's a billionaire. And he gave us talk at the TED University conference in March. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it to you, and I'll tell you why I'm going to read just a little bit of it to you after I read a little bit of it to you. He said, it's astounding how significantly one idea can shape a society in its policies. If taxes on the rich go up, job creation will go down. He says, this idea is an article of faith for Republicans and seldom challenged by Democrats, and has shaped much of today's economic landscape. But sometimes the ideas that we know to be true are dead wrong. For thousands of years, people were sure that the Earth was at the center of the universe. It's not, and an astronomer who still believed that it was would do some lousy astronomy. In the same way, a policymaker who believed that the rich and businesses are job creators and therefore should not be taxed would make equally bad policy. He says, I have started or helped start dozens of businesses and initially hired lots of people. But if no one could have afforded to buy what we had to sell, my businesses would all have failed and those jobs would have evaporated. That's why I can say with confidence that rich people do not create jobs, nor do business, large or small. What does lead to more employment is a circle of life, like a feedback loop between customers and businesses. And only consumers can set in motion this virtuous cycle of increasing demand and hiring. In this sense, an ordinary middle-class consumer is far more of a job creator than a capitalist like me. So when business people take credit for creating jobs, it's like a squirrel taking credit for creating evolution. In fact, it's the other way around. Anyone who's ever run a business knows that hiring more people is a capitalist course of last resort. Something we do only when increasing customer demand requires it. He goes on to say, since 1980, the share of income for the richest Americans has more than tripled, while effective tax rates have declined by close to 50%. If it were true that lower tax rates and more wealth for the wealthy would lead to more job creation, then today we would be drowning in jobs. And yet unemployment and underemployment is at record highs. The annual earnings of people like me, speaking as a billionaire, are hundreds, if not thousands of times greater than those of the median American, but we don't buy hundreds or thousands of times more stuff. My family owns 3 cars, not 3,000. He goes on to say, if the typical American family got today the same share of income they earned in 1980, they would earn about 25% more and have an astounding $13,000 more a year. Where would the economy be if that were the case? There's more. You cannot see it. You cannot listen to it on the TED site. You cannot see it or listen to it on YouTube because TED and its curator, Chris Anderson, refused to post it because it was too controversial. Now ask yourself, how controversial is that really? How much controversy is over the facts he stated? Is that really that much more political than global warming? Or the idea of contraception? I mean, really? The idea we shouldn't give tax cuts to the rich, is that, in general, is there more people in this country who have an argument with tax cuts for the rich versus the idea of providing contraception or the existence of man-made climate change problems? the wealthy in this country control our government, and they control our media. And they control even the media that is supposed to be sort of like, a little bit more thoughtful and interesting than our media. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. And also, just, I should add, this guy, Chris Anderson, as far as I can tell, he's a real douchebag. Just from my knowledge of what went on with Sarah Silverman's talk at TED, where after he books her and puts her there and uses all of the publicity that goes with that, he's shocked to find out that she has a potty mouth. What a moron.
I love how one of their reasonings was how they don't like to go into matters that are too political or religious. But if you look at their website, they've talked with Billy Graham before.
Of course. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.